Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodandana Rajagana Ranjana Yashodandana Rajagana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Giridhari Yashodandana Rajagana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nittaya Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nittaya Hari Om Sarvanyamishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Ruparadhamiyam Radhati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gautam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahavana Raghunatam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vajanā Savidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradhanam Sahavana Shri Shakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tarkakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patyanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Good morning. We spoke about the story of Bharat coming towards Chitrakoot and meeting Bhargava Muni in the end. And Bhargava Muni shows him the direction towards Chitrakoot. So we're going to continue from this point onwards in the Ramayana. So while there was so much chaos happening in Ayodhya, Dasharatha Maharaj, he died, and Bharat and Parikshit were called back, and all those episodes that were happening in Ayodhya. At that point in time, Lord Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita, they were walking towards Chitrakoot mountain, and they began to reside in Chitrakoot. So by the time Bharat actually reaches Chitrakoot, Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita have been in the forest for almost close to a month. And they are kind of getting adjusted to the forest life and kind of getting adjusted to the stay in Chitrakoot. The Ramayana has two places. One is palaces and second is forests. The Ayodhya Kanda of the Ramayana is about palaces, and the Aranya Kanda of the Ramayana is about forests. If you actually study all our scriptures, they're either talking about palaces or they're talking about forests, right? Have you ever wondered what is so much about palaces and forests that every scripture talks about? Whether it's the Bhagavatam or the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, people spend time either in the forest or in the palace. Because these two represent two different ways of living life. Palace means comfort. Palace means security. Palace means controlled environment. Palace means luxuries. Palace is safety. The forest means unpredictability. Forest means uncertainty, insecurity, unpredictable environment, danger, hunger, thirst. So much of dangerous animals roaming around. who are used to palaces cannot stay in forests. Very difficult for them to stay in forests, right? Now tell me, how many of you are willing to go and stay in forests? You can hear all stories of sages and all that staying in forests. But can we go and stay in the forest? Impossible. One night also we don't survive over there. So why is Ramayana and Mahabharata talking constantly about palace and forest? Simply to help us understand that it requires a lot of flexibility in your mind to be able to handle a forest life, which is unpredictable. And therefore, in the forest, there are three types of people that live there. The first type of people are sages. The second type of people are animals. And the third type of people are demons, rakshasas. And all the three live in the forest. Animals live in the forest and they are constantly hungry eating other animals or anybody who they find, isn't it? But the good part of animals is that once their stomach is full, they don't hunt. They don't harm anybody. They only hunt as when they are hungry. And once their hunger is satisfied, then they don't hunt. But Rakshasas, they hunt for fun. They kill others for fun. There is no upper limit to their hunger. They constantly feel hungry. They constantly feel greedy. How much ever they have, they are not satisfied with it. This is second type of hunger in the forest. And the sages have a third type of hunger. What is the hunger the sages have? The hunger for knowledge. The hunger for self-realization. They conquer external hunger. If we don't get prasad on time, can we control our hunger? Can we control our anger? So neither can we control our hunger, nor can we control our anger. But in the forest, what is the guarantee you will get prasad on time? Nothing. So in such an environment, the sages have completely controlled the system. They have outgrown hunger. Because they have outgrown hunger, they live in the forest, but they are unaffected by the atmosphere of the forest. They don't get scared because they have nothing to lose. If you have a lot, there's a lot of fear. But if you have nothing, what do you have to fear? So when people from the palaces go to the forest, it takes time for them to adjust. Because they're used to some other life, and now they're exposed to some other life. And such people who go from palaces to forests, if they come across sages, they learn to live a life of adopting the forest. So Sita, Ram, and Lakshman, they spent their 14 years constantly in the company of sages. And they learned how to overcome their hunger. The greatest thing a human being can learn is to how to overcome hunger and thirst. That is why as soon as you go to ISKCON, we are introduced to fasting. Before going to ISKCON, so many fasting nobody has ever done. Every second day fasting is there. Here. So why do you think our acharyas are insisting so much on fasting? It is simply so that we learn to control our hunger. And the moment you control your hunger, you can control your anger, you can control your thirst, you can control your so many other desires and needs and requirements that you have. Ram, Lakshman, and Sita, when they walked in the forest, they walked in a unique fashion. Ram would walk ahead, Sita would walk behind him, and Lakshman would walk behind Sita. When Ram would walk, he would walk with his back erect, his head held high, walk straight. And Sita would be constantly looking at the back of Ram. The back of Ram never stooped, never bent, always erect. And she kept herself a little to the left of Ram. So Ram walked first, and then Sita walked a little, keeping Ram to her left. Now, why did Sita walk by keeping Ram to her left? The reason is because Sita did not want to step on the footprints of Ram. Through the 14 years, Ram walked in the front. She never once stepped on the footprint of Ram. Now you might say, how foolish is that? Because whoever walks in the front in a forest, all the thorns spoke that person only, isn't it? The person who walks second, less thorns spoke. If you walk on the same path as the first person. But Sita did not walk on the same path. She walked keeping Ram towards her left. Why? Because the left is very hardest. So she kept Ram's footprints and Ram's persona on her left side. And she walked a little to the right. And Lakshman kept both Sita and Ram towards his left and walked a little more right. What a strange thing, isn't it? Because Ram is walking like this, Sita is walking like this, Lakshman is walking like this. They all three walking in the same direction. This is a sign of respect. Everything connected to the Lord is very respectable. It's called as tadiya. The footprints of the Lord are so respectable that one should not step on the footprints of the Lord. In Vrindavan, when Krishna would go to the forest with his cows and with his friends, thousands and thousands of cows and hundreds and thousands of friends are walking around. Now imagine, the footprint of Krishna gets embedded on the floor of the forest. And beautiful signs are there on the footprint. Neither the cows nor all the boys ever stamp on the footprint of Krishna. None of them ever stamp on the footprint of Krishna. So that the footprint of Krishna remains preserved in the soil of Vrindavan forever. This is the consciousness of a devotee. Constantly thinking how to show respect to the Lord and his devotees. The sages in the forest, when they saw Sita, Ram and Lakshman walking, they were fascinated. Because all the sages in the forest, they were meditating on Omkar, constantly chanting the Om, intensely meditating on the Om. When they saw Sita, Ram and Lakshman walk, they felt as if Omkar is walking. It is explained that the word Om contains three letters: A, U, and Ma. Ram represents A. It is explained everything that is first in a series is Ram. So in alphabets, the first alphabet is A in any language. A represents Ram. First in the series. And the second alphabet is U. U represents the Guru, the spiritual master. Sorry. U represents the internal energy of the Lord, Mother Sita. The energy of the Lord is in the middle. So there are the God is in the front, Ram is in the front, and Sita is in the middle, and Lakshman, who represents Ma, the spiritual master, is in the back. So this is the order in which Sita, Ram and Lakshman are walking into the forest. So when they are walking into the forest, Ram first comes across Bharat Muni, as I mentioned. Ram asks Bharat Muni a question. He asks him, where should I stay? And Bharat Muni points out towards Chitrakoot mountain. And he says, this is a conducive place for you to stay. And then as he reaches Chitrakoot, he comes across Valmiki Muni. At the bottom of Chitrakoot mountain, Ram meets Valmiki Muni there. In fact, if you even now go to Chitrakoot, from Prayag to Chitrakoot on the way, Valmiki Ashram is still there. It's a beautiful place, amazing place, on top of a beautiful mountain. Ram met Valmiki over there. And Ram asked Valmiki Muni, in Chitrakoot, where should I build my house? Valmiki gave a very interesting answer. Valmiki tells Ram, you should build your house in the hearts of your devotees. I mean, if somebody is asking a construction question, Ram is asking a practical question, where should I build my house in Uttarakhand? Valmiki is giving a philosophical answer. To build your house in the hearts of your devotees. So Ram, he said, yes, I will do so. Now, apparently it seems to be a very strange discussion, Ram is asking something else, Ram is saying something else. But actually there is very deeper import in this discussion. What is Valmiki trying to tell Ram? He's saying, right now you might build your house over here, but don't think this is your permanent address. You should be staying wherever your devotees need you. Right now, you can stay here. But after some time, if some devotee is calling you somewhere else, you can't say, I have made permanent residence here. You are not allowed to have permanent residence. You have to move wherever the devotees want you to be there. And Ram immediately understood. And then Ram tells Lakshman, please find a place which is very conducive and build a house over there for us. Ram, he tells Lakshman this. So Lakshman is telling Ram, my dear Lord, don't give me such a burden. Don't give me the burden of making choices. He's saying, you choose, I will do whatever you say. See, making choices is not easy, isn't it? And if Lakshman is going to choose, he will choose something that he likes. So Lakshman is saying, my dear Lord, you just say, you point out to a particular place and I will build a house there. That's all. I don't want to make choices. People like Lakshman, they have given up their Swatantra Ratna, the free will to the service of the Lord. Completely dependent on the Lord for their service, for the instruction, whatever the Lord says to do. And he has no choice of his own. So Ram finally found a place on top of a mountain and overlooking a beautiful scenic space. And close to that place, there is a river running also. So Ram chose such a place. And Lakshman immediately set out to build a beautiful house for Sita and Ram to reside in. He is explaining that for many weeks together, Lakshman put his blood and sweat in creating the perfect residence. He created a house that was so beautiful. The ceiling of the house was filled with beautiful decorations of peacock feathers and jewels that he found within the river. The walls of the house were made up of mud and very, very beautifully laid, ornate, colors which he got from various minerals around the mountain. He used various types of leaves to make the roof of the hut. Every single place in the hut was extremely well thought, very intelligently done. Lakshman built a house which had several rooms in it. He built a room where Ram would meet the guests and the sages. He built another room where Sita could do her cooking, whatever she wants to do. He built another room where Sita and Ram could spend time having private time together. And then he built another room where Ram could perform his yajnas and sacrifices. And in that house, he did not build a room for himself. After the whole house was built, Lakshman invited Ram to come and have a look at the place. Ram, when he saw the entire place, he was amazed. He asked Lakshman, where did you learn to build houses from? We both went to the same Gurukul. We learned the same subjects. How come you are building houses and boats and all that? Lakshman tells Ram, my dear Lord, you learned all the skills that are needed to be a master. And I learned all the skills needed to be a servant. place, and especially when he saw the Lakshmana create a room for him without even asking, Ram was really touched. And Ram tells Lakshman, you are Bhavagya, Dharmagya, and Kritagya. Sitaram Jai Sitaram. 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 So Ram tells Lakshman that you are Bhavagya, Dharmagya, and Kritagya. So what does it mean of Bhavagya? Bhavagya means the one who knows the bhava of his master. Ram wanted a place where he would spend private time with Sita. But unfortunately, current is some hide and seek game going on. But unfortunately, Ram could not tell that to Lakshman. It's all for a brother to tell his brother, that I want to have a room where I can spend private time with my wife. So Ram was feeling awkward. How do I explain to Lakshman? But Ram did not have to tell Lakshman, because Lakshman understood the need of Ram, without Ram even telling him this. Therefore, Ram says, you are Bhavagya. You understand the bhava of the spiritual master, of your guru, of your master. It is very difficult to find a disciple who understands the bhava of the master. Very, very difficult. Srila Prabhupada understood the bhava of his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhaktisiddhanta understood the bhava of his guru, Gaura Krishna Prabhuji Maharaj. Lord Krishna Baba Maharaj's last desire when he was living this world, the last desire he expressed was, after I die, I want my body to be dragged through the streets of Navadvip. This is his last desire. And Lord Krishna Maharaj left this world. And all the other people who were, in that village, they thought of actually dragging his body, tying his body up and dragging it across the streets of Navadvip. At that time, Bhaktisiddhanta came. And he said, what are you doing? They said his last desire was, I want to be dragged to the streets of Navadvip. Bhaktisiddhanta said, you're not mad. Do you understand the mood in which he's talking? You can't drag him like that. His body is so worshipable. And then he explained dragging means he's saying he wants to be taken in a procession around Navadvip. The dust of Navadvip, he wants to experience on his body. So the understanding the bhava of the master is not an easy thing. And because Lakshman understood the bhava of Ram so well, he's called as bhavagya. The word dharmagya means the one who understands one's own dharma well. Lakshman built a house for Ram, a beautiful house with many rooms, but he did not build a room for himself. Because he understood that servant's maryada is clear at a distance. I can't, even though I have a close proximity to Ram, I cannot take it for granted. I need to keep a distance. So Lakshman built a house on a mountain opposite that mountain. Next mountain, not even on the same mountain. Because he wanted to give Ram and Sita space. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure that they are safe. So from the other mountain, Lakshman guarded Ram Sita. So he built a house in such a way that he could keep a watch on Ram Sita's house from this mountain. Imagine what kind of consciousness and what kind of thought process Lakshman had. So Ram is your dharmagya. You understand the dharma of a good servant. And then he says, you are kritagya. The word kritagya means you are expert in skills that are needed. If a servant has to serve his master, he has to have some good skills. Without skills, what you can serve, isn't it? You may have the best intentions, but if you don't have the skill to support your intention, you can't do much. So Ram said, you are very capable, using your body and your skills in serving the Lord. After the house was handed over to Ram and Sita, they were very, very happy there. Sita and Ram were having this discussion. And Ram tells Sita and Lakshman that right now we are staying here in this house, but don't think that we will be staying here forever. So, immediately, Sita understood what Ram is trying to tell. See, basically, the role of a Kshatriya is to protect the innocent. And wherever a Kshatriya is called, he goes to protect. So here, right now, they are staying over here at this point in time, basically. But if the need arises, we have to leave it and go ahead. So Ram looks at Sita, whether she will be attached to this place. So Sita is, fine, because she says, wherever you are, that's where I will be. And then Ram looks at Lakshman and he asks him, you built such a beautiful house. So much effort you put into build this house. What if you have to leave this house and go somewhere else? Will you be okay with it? Lakshman says, my dear Lord, this simply means I'll get opportunity to build another house somewhere else with it. He's like, I'm very happy to go anywhere. I can keep building houses for you with this. So this was the mood of Ram, Lakshman and Sita while they were in the forest. Sita was getting used to the forest, slowly learning things from the forest. And 1 month passed like this. One day, there was a huge commotion. The forest is a very quiet place. But suddenly, they heard trumpeting of elephants, roaring of lions, screeching of birds, and hundreds of animals ran away. Immediately, Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita ran out of the house to see what was happening. And they saw that the animals were running away from the foothills deeper into the jungle. And they realized that someone is carrying them. They saw at a distance a dust storm rising below the hill. So Ram asked Lakshmana to climb a tree and to see from top of the tree what is happening below. Lakshmana climbed a sal tree. Right on top of the tree he went, and from top he looked, and he saw this entire army of Ayodhya there. And from top he started shouting. He said, "Extinguish the fire! Ask Sita to go and hide in a cave." And he said, "Put on your armor, take on your bows and arrows, and get ready for a big fight." Ram asked Lakshmana, "Whose army is this?" Lakshmana comes down and he says that the mother has already given us the gift of punishment, and the son is now coming to give us the gift of death. He said the overambitious Kaikeyi, she has sent her son to kill us. So then Lakshmana starts telling Ram that don't worry, I am there with you. I am going to create a river of blood. The entire forest is going to get inundated with so much blood that nobody has ever seen before. So Ram, he's trying to process what just happened, basically. And Lakshman comes down sliding from the tree, runs into the into the hut, and he sees something very amazing happening. You know what he sees? He sees that the bow and arrows that are kept on the wall, they're mounted up on the wall and hung on the wall. The bow is swinging on its own, and the arrow jumping from the bow, because they're excited that there's a possibility of they will use. So Lakshman runs, he wears the armor, he takes the bow and arrow and he comes running out. And Ram is standing at the door. Lakshman immediately realizes now a big lecture is going to follow. So Lakshman is like in a lot of action, basically, But Ram is a lot of thinking before acting. So Ram tells Lakshman that why are you saying that Bharat has come to attack us? Why are you saying that Bharat has come here to kill us? So he says, what you're saying is right. When somebody gets power, they get intoxicated. But the intoxication of power becomes overwhelming for those who don't have saints, touching their heads. So if you don't have any saint whose hand is on your head, whose presence is in your life, power overwhelms you. But if you have association of saintly people whose hand is on your head, that power will not go into your brain. It will not disturb you. So Ram tells Lakshman that Bharat is always accompanied by saints. He always takes shelter of saints. There is no way Bharat can get disturbed. And then he says, let me tell you how much confidence I have in the integrity of Bharat. He says, I won't be surprised if darkness swallows up the moon sun, or sage Agastya, who drank the whole ocean, he drowns in the water collected in the calf's footprint. He says, I won't be surprised if the earth gives up its tolerance. I won't be surprised if the Meru mountain gets blown away by the wind coming on from the mouth of a mosquito. He says, I won't be surprised by all these things happening. But Bharat being intoxicated by power and losing his balance, that will really surprise me. Ram said, imagine the kind of confidence Ram has in Bharat's integrity and his steadfastness. And he says, Lakshman, you be assured that the world will always be a combination of good and bad. There will always be good and evil in this world. But great people like Bharat are like swans. Internally, they are equipped with a mechanism to separate milk from water. They know how to separate good from evil. On their own, they know. He says, my mind is not attached to the pleasures of the kingdom. And out of extreme anger at his mother's leadership, he may have mobilized the whole army of Ayodhya to bring us back. Ram is telling Lakshman. And he says that why does one in trouble think of solving others' problems by putting them in trouble? He says this is how animals function. Animal kingdom functions like this. He says I can never think of killing a brother or my father simply for the sake of a kingdom. And he says that if whatever you speak, Lakshman, is because of aspiration for the kingdom, just let me know and I will request Bharat to hand over the kingdom to you. He says. And Bharat will happily hand over the kingdom to you. Ram is telling Lakshman. Lakshman feels very ashamed. And then he drops his bow and arrow. And in the meanwhile, Bharat has come to the bottom of the Chitrakoot mountain. And he gets to know that Ram is on top of this mountain. Now for Bharat, this mountain is not an ordinary mountain. It is a worshipable mountain. As soon as Bharat reaches the foothill of the mountain, he pays obeisances. And then he looks on top of the mountain. He can see a smoke, column. And Bharat immediately understands. Below that smoke column is where Ram is. And keeping that smoke column in mind, he starts walking towards climbing the hill. So as Bharat is climbing the hill, he almost feels as if he is climbing, he is doing like a pilgrimage. It's like we climb the Tirupati hill or some hill that we climb holy place. Bharat actually felt that he is climbing a hill, and on top the hut that is there of Ram, there is a temple that I'm going to worship. And the smoke that is going up, that is like the flag and the dome of that temple. So with this in mind, Bharat starts walking up, doing this holy pilgrimage. So from the travel from Ayodhya to Chitrakoot was like a yatra for Bharat. And this reaching the top of that mountain was like the final part of the yatra, which actually going to visit the temple of Ram. And following Bharat was Shatrugna, Guha, Sumantra, and behind them were the archers of Guha. Bharat had told his guru Vashishta to bring the three mothers along with him. So finally, Bharat reaches on top of the mountain, and he sees a small hut over there. He sees outside the hut a heap of dry wood kept over there for cooking and for sacrifices. He sees some dry dung of deers and buffaloes kept over there for eating. And then slowly Bharat starts walking towards the hut. The floor of the hut was covered with kusha grass, and the front wall of the house displayed two crisscross bows kept over there. And inside the house there was a sacrificial fire going on. And Ram, Lakshman, Sita, they were sitting around the sacrificial fire, performing a sacrifice. Bharat runs into the hut and falls at the feet of Ram. And when he falls, his body hits the floor so hard that it makes such a loud sound. Ram really gets disturbed. He fell really hard on the floor. So the word Dandavat, you know what is the name of the word Dandavat? Danda means stick. So when you're holding a stick like this and you drop it or you just leave it, all of the stick fall. Straight it falls down, right? That is the meaning of the word Dandavat. Ideally, we're supposed to fall like that. on the floor when we see the deities for the Lord. That is exactly how Bharat fell over here. As soon as he saw his worship of the Lord, he just fell like a stick on the floor. Of course, we all have Kaliuga bodies. One fall fractured for many months together, we all will do any other. So do it peacefully. But I'm saying Bharat did it this way. And Bharat began to hold the feet of Lord Ram, cry very intensely. He, for the first time, he's seeing Ram and Lakshman dressed as ascetics in tree bark and deer skin. And it's been now 12 years Bharat has met Ram. Because 12 years back he had gone to his grandfather's home. And after 12 years he's returning back and looking at them in this condition. So Bharat is really disturbed. And Ram picks up Bharat and embraces him. And he embraces Bharat. The Lord asks questions. He asks him, why have you left him alone and come over here? And he says, did our father manage to handle the pain of separation that that he experienced from us leaving? And he says, I hope you are serving our father very nicely, and there is no shortcoming. And he says, I hope you are handling the affairs of the kingdom very nicely. And even though you are youthful and inexperienced, are you taking care of the kingdom very nicely? Ram asks Bharat like this. So by this time, while Ram is asking all these questions to Bharat, all the ministers of Ayodhya have also gathered together. Vasishtha also has come. And the most prominent people of the court of Ayodhya are there. And then Ram begins an entire discussion. The amazing part of this discussion that Ram is going to have with Bharat is that in the entire discussion, so now, it's actually a very strange thing what Ram does. So Ram first inquires about the father and, the affairs of the kingdom and all. He asks this question. But he does not allow Bharat to answer the question. Without allowing Bharat to answer the question, Ram begins to speak. And for the next almost like few hours, Ram is giving an entire discourse to Bharat on how to run a kingdom. This discussion between Ram and Bharat is considered to be the blueprint of Ram Rajya. If anybody wants to know what Ram Rajya is, this is a discussion to study. In my PhD thesis on leadership from America, I have an entire chapter on this particular aspect of what is Ram Rajya and the discussion between Ram and Bharat. So now, I'm going to share with you all some part of the discussion and some of the key highlights of what Ram tells Bharat and what are the key thought processes, principles behind Ram Rajya. So I'm not going to go into great details of it because if I do that, I will take about 2 hours now. But I'm going to tell you some very beautiful things that Ram tells Bharat. And it's very amazing that Ram asks such questions to Bharat. So Ram, he asks Bharat, the first question Ram asks Bharat is that, are you respecting Vasishtha and his son? Now, respecting Guru is good, it's very important, right? But Ram also specifically asks, are you respecting the son of Vasishtha? You know why? Respecting senior devotee is easy. Respecting equals is not easy. So Ram wants to know whether Bharat is actually respecting people who are younger also, but who have knowledge, basically. And then he asks, are you taking care of our mother as well? And he says, is mother Kaushalya and Sumitra happy? And he says, is the worshipable Kaikari happy? So what does it mean by asking about mothers? Because the foundation of Ram Rajya is on respect to mothers. If a man does not respect women, he cannot be a great leader. Leadership is based on the principle of respect, and especially respect to those who are mothers. So now he asks Bharat that, are you, so he asked many questions, he asking whether they are respecting brahmanas, whether they are respecting teachers, he asked whether they are respecting doctors, whether they are respecting, ancestors, all that he asks. And that list that Ram asks, one of the things Ram says is that, are you taking care of trees that are standing on the crossroads? Isn't it amazing? The whole list of all human beings over here, and suddenly he says, are you taking care of the trees that are on the crossroad? What does it mean? There are many factors behind a leader's success. There are some tangible factors, and there are many intangible factors. Taking care of the tangible factors behind success is easy, but there are many intangible factors that are important for your success. If all the people that Ram is mentioning here are all people whom we take for granted, right? Doctors, we take them for granted. Brahmanas, we take them for granted. Teachers, we take them for granted. Trees, we take them for granted. But all of them are somewhere or other responsible for us being successful. And this is you get blessings from all these sources. Ram asks Bharat, I hope you're not making decisions alone or with too many people. It's very interesting. If you want to make a decision, you should have a certain number of people. If you have too many people, then no decision gets made. One meetings are like that only. Long hours of meeting, nothing happens in the end. There's too many people, too many meetings. Nothing in the end happens. So here is Ram's very practical, question that he's asking Bharat. Ram asks Bharat that, I hope you are consulting minimum 3 to 4 ministers, both individually and collectively. Look at this. It's very interesting. Why is Ram is saying, hope you're asking them individually and collectively. What does it mean? Many times people hesitate to speak in a forum together. So Ram says, ask people individually and also collectively. Because people might just say yes, yes, when everybody is there. If you ask them alone, they will say something else only. So Ram is saying you should do both. Consult individually and collectively. And then Ram asks one amazing question to Bharat. He asks Bharat, I hope you have chosen the person who is the defense head, army chief. Bharat has to choose. And in the list of people that, the army chief, the list of traits, Ram says you should be courageous, born in cultured family, having skills, fearless, all these qualities he mentions, which are wonderful qualities to have. And one of the qualities Ram mentions is mind-blowing. You know what Ram says? I hope you're choosing an army chief who is joyful. When I read that, I was zapped. Why would an army chief need to be a happy guy? Because people of power should be happy people. If an army chief is not joyful, he is going to make a wreck of his power. And therefore, people who have power in their hand, they should be happy people. So Ram says, choose a happy person as the chief of the army. What an insight, isn't it? What a way of thinking. And then Ram says, I hope you are sharing your meals, delicious dishes with your friends. Ram asks Bharat. amazing thing he asks Bharat. He says, I hope every day you are wearing good clothes and making public appearances. When I read this, I was amazed. I said, why is Ram saying like this? Because before a person hears a leader, they see a leader. And impression is made when you look at a person. And therefore, leaders should wear clean clothes. Leaders should wear good clothes. And leaders should wear clothes that it doesn't mean opulent. It can be simple but neat and clean. In ISKCON, unfortunately, we have a thought that you are greater sadhu means you wear, all tattered clothes and all kinds of, clothes. You should make public appearances well dressed. Imagine that. Ram asks Bharat, do you get up every day in the last phase of the night and contemplate? So what is the meaning of that? That means what he's trying to say is that every person should get up early morning before everybody else gets up and spend some time alone, thinking, planning, contemplating. Every leader should have some time alone. Why? Why is time alone important? Because you see, the one relationship that you will have, the most important relationship that you will ever have in this world is a relationship with yourself. Unfortunately, most people's relationship with themselves is very bad. You may have very good relationship with others, but you have very, very bad relationship with yourself. Ultimately, you have to live with yourself only for the rest of your life, isn't it? Friends, family, and all come and go. But ultimately, you have to live with yourself. So Ram is talking about building a relationship with himself. So like this, Ram, he gives so many amazing instructions to Bharat. One after another, one after another, one after another. One of the things Ram tells is that he asks Bharat, when you choose your most important ministers, the core team, the very, very important political team, one of the things he asks, and in this series of instruction, he asks us 3 times. He says, do you choose a person born in a cultured family? I was thinking, what is this? Why is Ram again and again saying cultured family? And then I realized that for anyone to be a good leader, a stable leader, that person should have a good relationship with his parents. If a person does not have good relationship with his parents and is not born in a family where there is love and affection, there is good culture, very good chance that person will mess up in his role as a leader. Because a lot of what we learn is learned at home from our childhood. Not everything can be taught. Not everything can be taught through seminars and workshops and books. A lot of it is imbibed from your childhood. And therefore, it is very important when you choose your best people. Make sure you do some background study. Ask them some very simple questions. Just ask them, how is your relationship with your parents? That's all. You ask them, they will only tell you history. Because the idea of relationship with parents, it actually helps a lot in your energies. If you have very good relationship with your parents, your energies are free. But if your relationship with your parents is stuck, due to whatever reason, your energies are stuck actually. You get very, very, crippled to a lot of extent. So like this, Bharat and Ram have amazing conversations and such in-depth conversations on leadership. So now after Ram speaks so much to Bharat and gives him this whole blueprint of what we know now as Ram Rajya, he begins to ask Bharat a little bit about what has just happened. So he finishes this whole instruction and he asks Bharat, I'm still not clear why you are dressed in tree bark and deerskin. I am dressed and fine because my father has told me to do this. But why you are dressed in tree bark and deerskin? He asks him. And he says, how did our father allow this? How did our ministers allow this? He asks. And then Ram is waiting for Bharat to answer. Bharat says, which kingdom and which king? He says, which father or which son? He says, the king is gone. The kingdom is bereaved of the king. And the father is gone. And the sons are orphaned. He says, remembering the son that he loved the most and cursing the wife that he hated the most, our father went to the higher realms. Bharat tells Ram, our father died a very sad man. One moment of inattention on the part of our father has stripped him of all the reputation that he gained his entire life. Dasharatha Maharaj lived for 60,000 years, and 60,000 years he lived a spotless life, absolutely perfect. But the last 1 week, what he did, the one wrong decision that he took, taken away all the fame that Dasharatha had all his life. But it tells like that Ram. And he says, while dying, he remembered you. He said, I'm sure he'll attain a higher realm. But my mother is surely going to heaven. Bharat says like that, And then Bharat, he says, if I take the kingdom and I sit on the throne, I will also go to hell. So he says, the only way I can save myself from hell is by bringing you back. And I make you stand on the throne of Ayodhya. This one act of yours will grant me freedom. And it will grant my mother pardon. And it will grant joy to thousands of people of Ayodhya. When Bharat says this, Ram breaks down. He starts crying very, very piteously. And then Ram turns towards Sita and he tells her, Sita, your father-in-law is dead. He turns towards Lakshman and he says, Lakshman, your father is dead. But interestingly, Ram doesn't say, my father is dead. You know why? As I explained, Ram fed Dasharatha Maharaj in Lakshman. Lakshman taking care of him like a father will take care of a son. Right? So Ram did not feel the absence of Dasharatha Maharaj. He said, Dasharatha Maharaj is present in my brother. Therefore, he never said, my father died. He said, Lakshman, your father is dead. He said, Sita, your father is dead. But Ram never said, my father is dead. Then Ram obviously offered Pinda, Dasharatha Maharaj, in the forest and the river. And everybody went along with Ram to offer the Pinda. Then they all came back. And after they all came back, Bharat realized that this is the time to have this very important discussion for which he has come all the way. So Bharat, he had come prepared with all logical arguments because he knew taking Ram not going to be easy. He knew his brother very well. So Bharat comes completely prepared with all the logic and reasoning possible. With every single question that Ram might ask, and he was prepared. So Bharat began to speak. He said, if a wrong thing happens in one's absence, can one blame for it? He says, is it not my duty to undo some wrong that has happened? He says, if my mother has received the kingdom from my father, and if the kingdom is mine now, can I not give the kingdom to anybody else I want? I can legally give it to you back. So the kingdom is mine. I can do what I want with the kingdom. So he says, Ayodhya is like a dam, and it is being hit by adverse emotions again and again. Very soon the dam is going to break down. So he says, a donkey cannot compete with a horse. A baby bird cannot compete with the Garuda. A tree which is laden with fruits is useless for a dwarf. So he says, for me, this kingdom kingdom is not at all of any use. Please accept the kingdom on my behalf. Ram, he understands what Bharat is trying to do, and Ram starts presenting his logic. So this discussion between Ram and Bharat is an amazing discussion. There is so much wisdom in this discussion. Ram tells Bharat, you are saying as if you have full control over your destiny. Says destiny is under the control of God. God is the decider of good and bad fortune. But humans can choose how to react to the decisions made by God. He can never change the decision which is made by God. So he says the only permanent factor in this world is temporariness. Everything melts away in the course of time. Time is a magician. And it has a very sarcastic sense of humor. Except for dharma, everything in this world is temporary. So just like the wind, it tosses a dewdrop from a leaf. The wind of time throws away all the temporary things of this world. So he tells Bharat, don't run after stability in temporary things. Bharat, he understands what Ram is trying to tell. Then he presents his argument. Bharat tells Ram, I agree, death is a leveler. But the person who is close to death is usually very bewildered. And he makes the greatest mistakes of his life when he is very close to death. He says, our father's decision was faulty. Not only he was close to death, but he was infatuated by lust. He was infatuated by Kaikeyi's attachment that he had, and therefore he took such a bad decision. And he says, children's duty is to rectify the mistake of their parents. So Ram, he replies, that Bharat is saying the decision was taken by a person who was on a deathbed, and the decision was taken when he was infatuated by lust. Ram tells Bharat, you're wrong. He says the decision was taken much before we were born. Bharat gets completely bewildered because he thought that the decision was taken, just that day, isn't it? Ram says the decision was taken much before we were born. In fact, when our father got married to your mother, he promised our father that her son will be the next king. When Ashwati was, Dasharatha Maharaj proposed to marry Kaikeyi to Ashwati, the father of the Kaikeyi. Dasharatha tells Ashwati that I want to marry her. Ashwati says, I will not give my daughter to you unless you promise me that the son of my daughter will be the next king. At that time, Dasharatha didn't have any son. He said, he just wanted to get married, at that point. So he never thought that eventually you have 4 sons and all, there will be so much complication. At that time, they had no son, and there was no possibility of any son being born also, at least. So he said yes. And Ashwati gave on the condition that Kaikeyi's son will be the next king. And that is precisely why Dasharatha did not call Ashwati to the coronation. So he had made one promise in the past, and he didn't want to fulfill that promise, basically. He didn't want to fulfill that promise. And luckily for him, Kaikeyi didn't know about this promise. Imagine if Kaikeyi knew about this promise, then this whole matter was not here only, isn't it? She didn't have to do anything, literally. She didn't have to ask for the do nothing. He said, Ram tells Bharat, this is precisely why Dasharatha wanted to coronate me in such a hurry. Because at the core of his heart, our father knew that the coronation will not occur only. At the core of his heart, he knew that something is going to go wrong to me. That was the fear that he had in his heart. Kaikeyi was shocked when she heard this. She actually felt a little better after hearing this. After hearing this, she realized, I'm not so wrong after all. Sumantra was equally shocked because Sumantra knew the secret. he had guarded the secret with all his life. And he realized Ram has to be God. Because only God can know this. Dasharatha was not spoken about it. Ram was not, Shumatra was not spoken about it. Nobody knows about it. And here Ram knows about it. Ram continued. He tells Bharat, actually, our father, whatever he has done, is very just and it is very balanced. He says he has given you the kingship of human beings, and he has given me the kingship of animals. He has given you the cities to take care of, and he has given me the forest to take care of. And he says he has given you the white umbrella over the king, the white umbrella is placed. And he says he has given me a green umbrella, forestry, green umbrella under which he is working. And he says he has given one son of Sumitra for you, he has given one son of Sumitra for me. So he says, where is there, unfairness? Our father has acted very fairly, Ram tells. Ram tells Bharat, there are 4 gates to the door of perfection. If you want to achieve perfection in life, you have to cross 4 gates. What are the 4 gates? Shanti, peace, is the first gate. Second gate is called Atma Vichara, or introspection. The third gate is called satisfaction, Santosh. And the 4th gate is called Satsang, or wise company. So if you want to perfect your life, you have to pass through these 4 gates. Peace, introspection, satisfaction, and wise company. And to unlock these 4 gates, there are 4 keys. So, unless these 4 gates are unlocked, you cannot enter into these gates. But what are the locks that are, holding these gates together? The lock of desire locks the gate of peace. If you have desire, you cannot be peaceful. Anybody who has any desire, they can never attain peace, correct? And then he says, ignorance locks the door of introspection. If you are a very ignorant person, you cannot introspect. And then he says, hankering locks the door of satisfaction. Too much hankering, the door of satisfaction gets locked. And he says, misguidance locks the door of wise company. So when these 4 locks are broken, the door of perfection opens up. Ram tells Bharat, he says, my dear brother, all these qualities you're talking, they are qualities of sannyasi. This is not Kshatriya qualities. Why are you talking about sannyasi qualities? Bharat is asking Ram. He says, and then Ram, look at Bharat, he's saying, Ram, don't the scriptures say that it is better to do one's duties inefficiently than doing somebody else's duty perfectly? Bharat is quoting Gita here, to Ram. And he says the first duty of a Kshatriya is to protect citizens. Physically from enemies, emotionally from disturbances, intellectually from weaknesses, and spiritually from wrong habits. This is the duty of a Kshatriya, he says. If you really want to live a life of pain, you seem to be enjoying pain in your life. If you really want to live a life of pain, then you should take up the pain of protecting the citizens. But this now, there is far greater pain in doing your duty of Kshatriya, protecting the citizens, than taking up all these austerities that we're talking about. And he says, if you want to stay in the forest, stay here, but you rule Ayodhya. But already has a formula on how to stay far, work from home. You already have an idea how to manage that. He's telling Ram, he's giving Ram this idea. You stay in the forest, but rule Ayodhya, he says. And he says, if you are so obstinate about your vow, I will also take vow of staying in the forest with you, he says. And if any one son of Dasharatha has to stay in the forest, let that one son be me. So Ram, when Bharat says all this, Ram looks at Lakshman. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at Lakshman. And Lakshman is feeling so ashamed with her. that he doubted this Bharat. Ram is looking at, it's amazing, how Ram exactly at the right time he turns and looks at Lakshman. He doesn't even say anything. And Lakshman feels so embarrassed of all the allegations that he put on Bharat. Ram, he tells Bharat, he says, where have I abandoned Kshatriya Dharma? My bow is always by my side, and I will always protect the sick innocent. And one does not need a position to perform one's duty. The duty of Kshatriya, it doesn't need I need a tag of a king to do Kshatriya role, basically. He says, as far as charity is concerned, he says, once charity is given, it cannot be reversed or changed. Then, what to speak of the charity of a person who is already dead? The king, Dasharath, is given charity, his charity is very clear, and there are many witnesses to his charity. We are in no position to change it or cancel it. He says, there was no order from the king that Bharat should live in the forest. You cannot replace me in the forest, he says. Neither can I replace you in Ayodhya. Any modification to the king's order is adharma, Ram says. Now, after Ram says all this, the citizens of Ayodhya, they realize that they cannot change Ram's resolve. They are simultaneously sad and happy. Sad that Ram will not return with them, but happy that they got to witness such a discussion. They got to witness such a lofty and dharmic type of discussion. So when all this argument is going on between back and forth between Bharat and Lord Ram, at that time something amazing happens. Oh, it's 6 o'clock now. Do we have time? Yeah. Okay. So something amazing happens at this point in time. Ram and Bharat are having this discussion, and there are many citizens and ministers and all standing there. Nobody knows what to do now. Bharat is also confused. He has no argument left. Suddenly, one person gets up and he says, "Enough! Stop this madness." So he says, "Dharma, duty, heaven, hell, righteousness." He says, "This is all nonsense. I'm fed up of all this rubbish." He says, This is Jabali. Jabali is a sage who is from Ayodhya only. And this sage, he is now fed up of this discussion. And he intervenes and he is going to speak a completely atheistic philosophy. So Jabali says, life is like a constant journey. In the journey of life, two people may spend a night together in the same village. Only a fool considers time spent like that to be an eternal bond. All relationships, including that of father or mother, are simply transitory in this journey called life. The intelligent people don't give too much importance to this, he says. And he says, intelligent people don't even consider the fleeting relationships of this world. Everyone is born alone. A crazy fool gives so much importance to relationships, as much as you give importance to a seat after the journey is over. You all came by train and flight. Did you bring your seat with you? I booked 2C. I'll carry the seat with me. That's it. Journey is over, seat is over, So Jabali says the only thing that matters is how to minimize discomfort and maximize pleasure and be happy in life. He says life is simply a combination of sperm and ovum. That's all. One should not give more importance to relationship than this. Jabali is saying, the king is gone, along with him his dreams are gone, his aspirations are gone. You have to live your life with new dreams and new aspirations. He says, I laugh at all those people who talk about future consequences of present actions. Who has seen the future? Jabali is asking. And he says, who knows what happens after death? What we can see and experience is what our senses experience here. Jabali is saying. Let us focus on enjoying the present. Let us forget the future. Let us forget the past. And he says, all this concept of dharma, consequences, renunciation, austerity, charity, they are all just gimmicks. And he says, these are gimmicks by clever men to induce fear in the mind of people who that they take money from them. The Diwali is anything. And then he's saying, you're talking about offering pinda to ancestors. The only pinda that I know of that you're offering to ancestors is when the priest eats the feast and burps. That is it. That is the only reality of life. So he says, is that the sign the ancestors are satisfied? So he says, the food offered to ancestor from here reaches the ancestor wherever he is. We should use the same technology people who are traveling, isn't it? If I am going to Hyderabad by flight, I should offer whatever prasad is offered over here. If I offer it by this medium of pinda, it should reach the person who is in the flight automatically. He says, nothing like this happens, Diwali is telling. He says that existence of the world is a myth. The reality is what exists in front of our eyes. I pity those who devote their life to religion, Diwali is saying. And I appreciate those who live a life of pleasure. Don't take life so seriously, Diwali is saying. Lighten up. Enjoy the kingdom. Bharat is offering you the kingdom. Just take it and enjoy the life of the bliss. Diwali is telling like this to Ram. Ram, he gets so angry. The citizens of Ayodhya have never seen Ram so angry in their life. First time in their life, they are actually seeing anger in the face of Ram. And Ram, he tells Diwali, what you're speaking seems logical and sweet, but these are nothing but sugar-coated poison pills. And then he says, Vedic concepts are meant to direct the mind which is animalistic. When one rejects the Vedic concepts, one is completely submitting to the mind. And the mind will always drag you towards your lower nature. The Vedic concepts are not against enjoyment, but they are against enjoyment which is unmonitored and unprincipled type of enjoyment. So it says the intention behind a person's behavior is the actual strength of a person. Great people, they have the ability to find the intention and they don't judge the appearance. So he says, if I go ask for your advice, I act just for the sake of enjoyment, then all the citizens over do the same thing. So if I act just sort of for enjoyment and I expect citizens to behave nicely, what sense does it make? It's like double standard, isn't it? One standard for me and one standard for the citizens. So he says, if that is the way life will be, then everybody will do anything in the world. Where will there be any control in society? Where will there be any kind of principles in society? He says, what you speak is nonsense, Ramesh Diwali. He says, to facilitate my win, I will have to be noble externally, but dishonest internally. So, person who is externally acting and internally something else, that person is a hypocrite. Ramesh Diwali. So he says that a leader is going to play such a double game. How can you expect the followers to not do? And he says, the basis of any governance is truth. One should fear an untruthful person more than a snake. Ram tells everyone. This is every good quality in this world, the foundation is truth. So if truth is not there, then all the good qualities that you build on it won't be there. So he says, and the basis of, he says, millions of exalted people in the past have followed the Vedic concepts and have perfected their lives. And they have demonstrated perfection at a personal level as well as a governance level. So he says, you have the audacity to say all that is wrong. So Ram asks him, what is your qualification for you to claim to be better than all of the other people? He says, why should I believe you? And what is your credibility to oppose something that is so much timeless and that has stood the test of time for such a long period of time? And then he says, if somebody like you, who have no credibility, speaks this kind of philosophy, should I believe you? Or should I believe all the thousands and millions of great people that have lived in the past based on the Vedic concept? when Ram speaks like this, everyone were amazed with the ability of Ram to strike down Jabali's atheistic philosophy. And they were amazed by the anger that Ram is showing. First time in life they understood one thing. The one way to trigger Ram's anger is atheism. If you want to trigger Ram's anger, become an atheist. And then you will see Ram's real anger. Jabali fell at the feet of Ram. He started begging forgiveness. He said, "My dear Lord, I am not an atheist. I just wanted you to come back. So I did something to make you come back." And he said, "How long will I just see tears in the eyes of my mother, in the eyes of my brother, and all the citizens of Ayodhya? How long can I see them crying like this? But after hearing your strong message and your response, I am convinced that nobody can change your decision." Vilas says. And he says, "I have understood the painful reality of you being a leader, wanting to see the highest standard set for the future." Vashishta, he supported Jabali. And he told Jabali, I told Ram that, he's not an atheist, please forgive him. And then Ram, he forgave Jabali. And of course, at this point, Vashishta speaks. So Vashishta says, a person has three teachers: the father, the mother, and the guru. The father gives life, but the teacher gives the wisdom to live life. Therefore, the instructions of the teacher are considered to be as important or more important than the instructions of the father. And therefore, and he says, I'm not just your guru, I'm the guru of your father also. So he says, naturally, if you follow my instructions, you're not transgressing any codes of dharma. And he says, I tell you, if I tell you accept the kingdom, you're not only fulfilling your duties towards me, but you're also fulfilling the duty towards thousands of people. By following my instructions, you're following the right path, the path of dharma, he says. Now, it has his Guru Vashishta. Whatever you say is true, but the instructions have to be followed in the order in which they are given. He says, first I will follow the instructions of my father. Those instructions are for 14 years. Then I'll come back and follow your instructions, he says. So he says, I'm not going to neglect any instruction. I'm going to follow every instruction that is given to me by my elders. But I'll just follow them in the same order, Ram says. Now Bharat, he gets completely fed up. All logic has failed and all kinds of instructions have failed. Nothing is working here. Bharat, he decides that I am going to fast to death. He tells Mantra to spread out the usha grass. And he sits on it. And he says, I'm going to take a walk, I'm going to fast to death here. Ram gets very angry. He says, this vrata is called Paryopavesh. This is a practice meant for Brahmanas who are in extreme cases of helplessness. When Brahmanas have no source of eating, no source of livelihood and food, that time they follow the Paryopavesh. But this is not meant for rulers, for Kshatriyas to follow. And he says, be assured that even the moon loses its swimming light, the Himalayas loses all its snow, and the sea transgresses the shore and comes inside, I will never falsify the promise I gave to my father. Ram tells like that. Bharat was completely bewildered. And now he never faced Ram's anger. This is the first time Ram is getting angry on Bharat. So he gets really scared. And then he realizes, I don't want to displease my brother anymore. So he ran out of the hut. And he started calling all the citizens of Ayodhya. He says, all of you citizens of Ayodhya, please come together. The tradition of the Ikshvaku dynasty is to consult all of you all before making decisions. King Dasharath, he consulted you before making Ram as a king. And while he made, he gave those two boons to Vaikai, he didn't consult any of you all. Now we're going to take another very crucial, important decision. I want to consult all of you. So Bharat realized side, he is saying all of you are saved. One senior citizen spoke on behalf of everybody else. The senior citizen said, "We know Ram well. Now that we have heard him ourselves, he knows what he is doing and he knows what is right for us. Although what is right can also be very painful. Let Ram keep the words of his father. And we will not push him anymore." The senior citizen says. Ram walks up to Bharat and touches the shoulder of Bharat. And he says, "Reflect on whatever we spoke so far." Now the citizen just concluded, "This don't be impulsive anymore. Think reflectively. Only then you will be able to see reasoning behind everything we are doing." So Ram tells like this to Bharat. And finally, before concluding, after the whole discussion was over, Ram tells Bharat, "Be rest assured, after 14 years, I will come back and rule the kingdom. And I will come back and accept the responsibilities of the kingdom." When Ram says that, flowers fall from the sky. From the heavens, flowers shower down. And the celestial sages appear over there. The celestial sages, they have been hearing the conversation between Ram and Bharat and all these people. And they are very impressed with the sincerity of this conversation. And they felt they are so fortunate to have witnessed this discussion. They tell Bharat, "If you have any regard for your father, accept and abide by the words of Ram." The citizens were amazed to witness this miracle, that happened in front of their eyes. Ram tells Bharat, "My dear brother, in your humility, you have expressed your inability to rule Ayodhya. But I assure you that your humility is your strength." And he says, "You are extremely competent in ruling the country." And he says, "Remember, character is more important than competence. Your humility, use your humility to seek good counsel from the personalities who are unbiased and selfless." And he says, "Don't ever blame your mother for all that has happened. A mother is always to be respected, not else." And then all this while, Bharat was very disturbed. Now he completely understands this is what has to be done, and he gets clarity. He claps his hand, and a servant comes with a silver plate in his hand with a clock over it. Bharat removes the clock, and in that silver plate is a pair of golden padukas. He takes the padukas and he tells Ram, "My dear Lord, I knew from the beginning that you would not come back." He tells him. So he says, okay. So Bharat tells Ram, "My dear Lord, I knew that you won't come back. But if I sit on the throne, I will feel that I have cheated you." So he says, the dilemma can be solved only if your footwear sits on the throne. I will not sit, you also don't sit. Your paduka will sit. The footwear will assure me that I am ruling on your behalf. And the footwear will also give the citizens the confidence that the paduka is ruling them. And wherever your lotus feet are, there is bound to be great gain and bound to be security. Lord Ram steps on the footwear of in which Bharat Maharaj offered. And then he says, "I vow for the next 14 years, after the next 14 years, I'll come back to Ayodhya." And then Bharat Maharaj, he takes the vow. He says, "My dear Lord, I vow for the next 14 years, I shall wear matted hair and dress in tree bark and deer skin, eating only roots and fruits," he says that time. And he says, "I will live on the outskirts of Ayodhya and I will rule the country as your representative." And he says, "I also vow that if I do not see you, the day after the completion of the 14 years, I will jump into the fire and end my life." Bharat tells this to Ram. Yeah? Ram embraces Bharat. Bharat and Shatrugna go around Ram 3 times. And then Bharat holds the Paduka on his head. And he goes around the Chitrakoot mountain 3 times. Along with all the citizens of Ayodhya. He goes to the Chitrakoot mountain 3 times. And then return back to Ayodhya. It is explained. The most amazing thing is that the Acharyas gave a very beautiful analogy to explain what exactly happened in this whole episode. He said, the Acharya explained, there was a huge lion that lived in a cave on top of a mountain. And this lion was living in this cave with its wife, the lioness, and its baby cub, living in this cave. One day, a huge elephant trumpeted loudly and challenged the lion. The lioness, and the cub came out of the cave and they stood at the edge of this mountain. The lion jumped off the mountain to go and attack the elephant. And the lioness took the cub back into the cave. Now I think, what is this? This analogy actually describes whatever we discussed in the last 2 hours. The lion is Lord Ram. The cub, the little baby, is Bharat Maharaj. And that lioness is a Paduka of Lord Ram. And that elephant is Ravan. And the cave is Ayodhya. So it is explained that this elephant named Ravan trumpeted loudly, and the lion went to attack Ravan. And when the lion went to attack Ravan, he left Ayodhya and he went to the south to attack Ravan. The lioness took the cup back. What does it mean? It is not that Bharat took the Paduka back. The Paduka took Bharat back. So the Paduka of the Lord was considered to the lioness as Bharat is the baby cub, basically. So the Acharyas give such an amazing explanation to understand the whole scenario. There is a very, very exalted Acharya from the Shiva Sampradaya who has written an entire book called Paduka Sahasranam. The 1,000 names describing the Paduka of Lord Ram. Imagine, 1,000 names describing only the Paduka of Lord Ram. How glorious the Paduka of Lord Ram is. So let us, on this very, very beautiful meditation in the Paduka of Lord Ram, remember this story, remember this pastime. The Paduka represents principles. The Paduka represents the virtues. The Paduka represents the concept of Ramrajya. And Paduka represents that the Supreme Lord's lotus feet are directing our life, governing our life. And Bharat reported every day to the Paduka of the Lord. Similarly, all of us also, when we live our life, we should live a life like Bharat only. We may be living in our houses, which are like small kingdoms only. But we shouldn't think that this is my kingdom. We shouldn't think that this is my house. We shouldn't think that this is my family. We shouldn't think that this is my wealth. We should think that I am simply a caretaker. And the Paduka of the Lord, Supreme Lord who is sitting in my house, He is the one who is governing my house. I am only reporting to Him. So with this mood, if we live our life, that's the mood with which Bharat lived his life. And that is the greatest mood of the world. Thank you very much. Sita Ram Lakshman ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So tomorrow we are going to be having the concluding lecture in the morning. And tomorrow's lecture, I'll just tell you what to expect. We're going to have a very, very beautiful discussion that happened in the kingdom of Ayodhya between Vishwamitra Muni and Dasharath Maharaj. And this extremely beautiful discussion with so many learnings we'll start with the discussion of Dasharath and Vishwamitra Muni, and then go on to describe the journey of Lord Ram and Lakshman with Vishwamitra Muni through, till Siddhashram. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. And tomorrow's katha will be like a very, very interesting and a very beautiful katha with a lot of learnings that you can apply in your personal lives. Thank you very much for all of you for enthusiastically being here. And please now enthusiastically visit Surya Kund, where there is an amazing and fantastic sound and light showing by. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Very well.